Welcome to the third episode of this as yet to be named YouTube channel. You want to tell us where you're dialing in from?
I'm dialing in from a little village called Ulo, which is in North Wales.
Like if I had a blank map of the United States, I doubt I could fill it in accurately with all of the U.S. states. Like most of them.
There are 50 of them. That's a lot.
Thank you, Nate. I agree.
Today's episode was Charlie X, which I have to admit was one of the more disturbing episodes of Star Trek that I've seen for sure. If I had to sum it up in like a quick title, I guess I would call it Incels in Space.
He was more or less very homeschooled, possibly. Well, only without a parental role model.
I'm sure some homeschool
Parental role model was a floating green head, wasn't it?
I was suspicious automatically as soon as, if I was Captain Kirk and here's these guys bringing this pretty obviously weird kid on board and they're like, no, we're getting out of here. We don't need anything. Oh, you want some free booze? No. We're on a 6-year mission into space and we don't want any alcohol? Come on. There's something suspicious about this kid.
Yeah, and they even offered them entertainment tapes, which I'm not sure what they meant by that. They just
what those are. Do we want to inquire too far into that?
Yes. So very early on, Charlie starts to get into trouble. He becomes enamored with Yao-Min Rand. He smacks her on the butt after initially flirting with her, trying to be a little aggressively flirting with her, and then she has to send him to Captain Kirk to explain why that's wrong. It's just a really weird episode overall. There was just a lot of like funky stuff going on that even when he went to talk to Kirk about why that was wrong, Kirk couldn't really even explain it.
He's like,
you look really uncomfortable, I thought, trying to explain that.
It would seem no one ever talked to Kirk about
No, I guess not yet.
It would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
One thing I wanted to point out, the gym scene, I thought that was...
Yeah, William Shatner in Lycra was not something I ever needed to see.
I don't know what those moves were, but I can't imagine that, they were all that useful.
Well, you were in the military. I meant to ask you if that was something that's similar to...
No, I didn't get that far into the training, I guess. But, and that guy against the wall, I don't understand what exercise that was. He was just pulling, it was sticking out of the wall, and he was just pulling on, I don't know.
Well, this is
there was the two quarterstaff people with, footballs on the end of big metal poles, and what were they doing?
Yeah.
And
then there was the people doing the gymnastic flips or whatever. This a line of people just, I don't even know what that move was called, but
yeah, CrossFit. These are the exercises of the future.
I don't know if you guys remember that there was a Twilight Zone episode that was kind of similar to this. The little boy that had all those powers and everyone had to be real nice to him, or
yeah.
Oh yeah, they turned the last guy into a jack-in-a-box, right?
Mildly terrifying about a powerful child. Off-putting. Nothing good can come from that.
You never see a good kid in these stories that just uses their powers for good.
No, you really don't, do you?
If my kids had those powers, I can't even imagine.
My girlfriend's a teacher, and apparently, until fifth or sixth grade, kids they don't have the ability to put themselves in other people's shoes.
I work as a teacher myself.
Right, Phil's a teacher.
That seemed pretty accurate to me. It's something that you have to, when you have that kind of an issue, you have to sit down with the child and talk it through with them.
Just imagine your most difficult student was then suddenly omnipotent.
God. I'm actually imagining this, and wow.
Yeah.
I'd have been begging for a giant floating green head to show up.
Where do you think the people went when he made them disappear?
It seemed like he wasn't quite sure about that.
away. He said he made them go away. So they just
all we know, they were actually like just sent to party land or something like that. None of them seemed all that. The yeoman didn't seem all that disturbed when she came back. She's just like, oh yeah, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, she had a toga, a pink toga, right?
Yeah, she came back with a toga, so maybe it's just a big toga party they go to, and then.
Star Trek.
Right. Star Trek. So Sulu, we were all confused because Sulu was in a room with a bunch of plants on the first episode, and he still hasn't been promoted to the bridge in this episode.
No, I spotted that. I think actually the opening credits of this episode, I don't think DeForest Kelly's actually credited. I think it was just Shatner and Nimoy.
But he was on there.
Yeah, he's in there.
Punk was on there. I don't think Sulu was on there the whole episode.
No, Sulu wasn't. I think the only ones of the gang who are actually there are Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Uhura. Because Scotty wasn't in that episode either.
And Yao-Min Rand she's kind of like the fourth Ghostbuster. The only way I can think of her, because she's there in a lot of episodes, and she has a prominent role, and she's in a couple of the movies, but she's never, she's not going to be like on the promotional posters or anything.
Well, there's certain like continuity things that you notice in this episode. So they're not referring to Starfleet at this point. It's USPA.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right.
They hadn't settled on Starfleet as being the organization.
okay.
And the crew of the Enterprise is entirely human because they hadn't come up with the idea of the Federation yet.
One question I did have about this episode, Charlie X, why couldn't the Thasians just take his powers from him? Would that have made it too easy?
Well, I mean, if you give him powers, you can't just take them away, because everybody's got the same powers now. I mean, like if they were all part of the same powerful sort of alien things, like once you give them somebody powers, you can't just take them away because they have the same powers as you do. I mean, right?
Yeah,
well, I mean, they were able to force him to come back with them, so they must be more powerful than him.
And he's a little different. Like he couldn't touch them,
Right.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing you think Picard would have at least raised.
Kirk's speech wasn't too convincing. He just killed, dozens of people and destroyed a spaceship. But I'm sure we can, if he's around his own kind for long enough, I'm sure we can teach him not to do that again.
Not to do that.
And you kind of see the other people in the background when Kirk is being like, oh yeah, we could take him. The expressions on the other people's faces kind of just like, I really don't want my face, blanked out or frozen or disappeared. Maybe we'll pass on this one.
Yeah, what a terrifying series of powers this kid exacted on. Did you see the woman that just lost her face?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the instantly aged.
Yeah. I mean, how do you?
And the one who got turned into an iguana.
Yeah, right.
They never mentioned that.
That one was a little more comical, you turned her into a lizard. And then the next one, you hear this pitiful scream and the woman has no face. It's like, oh man, it's getting worse.
Also, when you have those powers, and if he's in love with this woman, why couldn't he then take something else, like perhaps an iguana, and turn it into a replica of the girl that he's in love with, or something? I mean,
sure.
It seemed like if you have those infinite powers, like, oh wow, you really just want this one human person you've met over the course of 12 hours, you can do anything you want. Why not make another?
Why couldn't he change her perception of him? Snap his fingers and suddenly, hey, she's in love with him.
That's what I thought that's what I thought he was gonna do.
So I guess his powers are limited in
like
some.
like a homeschooled Q. Sort of.
I suppose that goes back to the point of why didn't they just take his powers away? Because I'm pretty sure that the Q Continuum did take Q's powers away at least once.
Yeah.
Because they didn't approve of him meddling with Picard.
Said it was like a pre-Q civilization, or, group of people where they're like, oh, they're pretty powerful, but not quite omnipotent yet.
And the melting of the chess pieces really cracked me up. Been there.
He used the same amount of energy to melt those chess pieces as he did to destroy, like, the whole spaceship. That when he rolls his eyes back and...
You notice Spock smiled again in this episode?
He did, yeah. During the dancing and the singing, that part was weird too.
It was like it was hitting on Uhura and smiling, and it was out of character.
Yeah, they still haven't quite found out what Uhura's role is. She just keeps getting abused. I mean, the first she loses her voice while she's trying to sing, and then she gets shocked by the control panel, and then in the previous episode, she tries to flirt with Spock, and he just brushes her off, and she gets mad and walks away. Because later on in the series, she had a much more constructive role, from what I recall. I mean,
this was what, early '60s, mid '60s.
Let's see. So, were there really any themes to this one? Some of the other episodes had, slightly more philosophical themes. I had a little bit of trouble drawing the deeper meaning out of this one.
It was like they tried to do that Twilight Zone episode, redo it in
space
spacey format, and then it ended up just being creepy the whole time, creepy and weird.
Yeah.
It really was kind of uncomfortable.
If there's any message I drew from that, it was don't give a 17-year-old godlike powers, particularly not if he's a homeschooled incel.
Well, any other thoughts? I mean, basically at the end, the resolution was originally they were going to take him to this other colony, and they were going to leave him with some humans, and he was going to have a place to live. And then they realized what a danger he was, so they put a hold on that plan, and they were going to try to keep him from the colony. And he ended up taking over the ship and was about to get there anyway. And then the Thasians, which is the planet that he was stranded on, the beings from that planet, came out of nowhere they were just a floating green, undulating, floating head, and said, we gave him these powers to survive on the planet, and he's too powerful, and he's just going to destroy that colony when you take him there. So we're going to take him back with us. And so that's how it ended. He cried and screamed because they can't touch people and they can't love, and he didn't want to be stuck there.
Did we ever find out, like, were there ever other colonists, and did he do something with them?
No, I think they all died in the crash except for him. A couple things. One, I don't know how a 3-year-old survived the crash and everyone else died. But two, this is another theme that has been repeated, or another plot point that's been repeated. If you recall from the pilot, that's how the woman who was on that's how she got to that planet in the first place. She crash landed, and she was the sole survivor. I guess this is a common theme in sci-fi in general to have. I think even in Alien, that was how it worked with the little girl.
Yeah, it was a bit much. It was just odd. Yeah, not real. I didn't really understand the point, but it was entertaining, I suppose. Maybe.
Yeah, in like a sort of silly, campy kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, I was never bored watching it,
No.
But I was just sat there the whole time thinking, was I supposed to take drugs before I watched this?
Probably.
Like, was DC Fontana on drugs when he wrote this? I think something that I noted, I've seen this picked up in other YouTube videos before, is Kirk's reaction to a member of his crew getting killed. He's never really that bothered by it.
No, I mean, the guy disappeared right in front of him. You're right. And he was just like, what'd you do? Obviously, he's dead.
That's weird.
That's
like, after you do this 6 or 7 more times, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Yeah.
I did admire his confidence that the boy wasn't going to disappear him.
Yeah, I would have definitely sent Spock in there, You tell him.
And those poor security guards that had to take him, I mean, like, he disappeared their phasers, and, like, Kirk's like, just go with them. I mean, like, if I was a security guard, I'd be like, holy crap, I am out of here. I'm just going to run away.
All of the things on the entire ship we're taking. Address that too directly. Maybe next episode when they don't have any phasers.
Thank you guys for being here. Again, Stephen, Ethan, Phil from Wales, our guest host, who hopefully will come on again once he.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed this, so it'd be great to do it again.
Yeah. So once again, this channel is called insert channel name that we haven't come up with yet. And please hit like and subscribe, and see you next time. Some
There you go.
some music.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Yeah.